Hello, hello. Welcome to today's episode of the podcast. So, in today's episode, we are going to be breaking down my top 5 most viral reels. And these are reels on both my Sit with Kelly account and my Business of Therapy account. In case you don't follow me in both, I will give you a little bit of a recap of what both of those accounts are. So, Sit with Kelly is where I really started my therapy practice. It's where I talked about all things anxiety, mental health, and really how I filled my caseload with one-on-one clients from Instagram. As I have not taken a new therapy client in definitely over 2 years, maybe close to 3 now, that account has shifted a little bit into a little bit more of like a lifestyle influencer page, and is a little bit less like quote unquote selling therapy. But that is definitely my like therapy based account. And then where you probably follow me for sure is my Business of Therapy account. And that is where I share marketing and business tips for therapists. Some of these reels are from Sit with Kelly and some of them are from Business of Therapy. And the way that I'm defining most viral here is just by like the biggest number of views. So that's kind of how I picked the top 5. But as we go through them, I'm really going to share what I think worked really well about each of them, where I think that I could have like improved things to actually lead to more tangible business results instead of just views. And then also really talking through like which formats have been really good for growing following or getting new clients or getting new customers, because they kind of vary, right? So I'm really excited to dive in. Also, in the show notes, we will go ahead and include links to all 5 of these reels so you can watch them, check them out, use them as inspiration for your own reels. And yeah, let's dive in. All right. So, reel number 1 is from my Sit with Kelly account, and this was posted in April 2024. And it is an audio that I am like sort of lip syncing to and pretending to hear the audio and sort of reacting to it. So, it was really, really easy to film. And I will just sort of read you the words that are playing in the audio. So the audio says, if you showed early signs of academic success as a child and were praised by adults for being smart, so you internalized the idea that being smart was an inherent trait that you either did or did not have. So now that you are older, you procrastinate on your task because you may not succeed and it would expose you as a fraud. Clap your hands. And so, sort of as that audio is playing, I'm listening, I'm making animated faces, and at the end, I go ahead and I clap my hands. And I kept the caption super simple for this one. And I said, well, all the oldest daughters with high functioning anxiety, do me a favor and clap your hands. And then hit follow, Sit with Kelly for helpful content from an anxiety therapist with anxiety too. Now, let's break down what this reel did for me and for my business. So, this reel got 12.2 million views, which is by far my most viral reel ever. We had 516 likes, so not that many likes compared to how many views there were. We had over 510,000 likes, so a ton of likes there. 3,000 comments, 84,000 shares, 75,000 saves, nearly 16,000 followers. 16,000 followers from one reel. And it was a 19-second reel, meaning the audio played for 19 seconds, and the average watch time was 11 seconds. So people watched it about halfway through. Now, I want to talk about what went really well here. So I used a really, really simple call to action, right? So I basically said, if you relate, will you clap your hands? And so I got a lot of comments of people like putting clapping hand emojis, which made it really, really easy for them to engage, which really helped to boost it in the algorithm. It was also something that was pretty funny, right? It was pretty shareable. So 84,000 shares is huge. And I think that just goes to show that it was like a very relatable audio. I think I did like a good job in terms of like filming the reel. So I did it in a corner of my office that's pretty aesthetic. I had on like a cute outfit. I was holding a cute cup. I was being like animated with my face. And so it was visually pretty interesting to watch while also keeping it really, really simple. There was no like fancy edits or anything like that. I did have captions on the screen that I sort of like hand typed. So I had like the different pieces of the words in the audio playing as the audio was playing, right? And I think that was helpful for people who weren't watching with sound. It also just kept it like visually engaging and made it really, really easy. Also, so when I initially posted this reel, I obviously did not know it was going to go super viral. And I just had the caption say, like, will all the oldest daughters with high functioning anxiety do me a favor and clap your hands? And once I saw that it was like really going viral, I initially wasn't getting that many followers from it. And so I changed the rest of the caption to say, and then hit follow, sit with Kelly. And that was really, really helpful of like a good tweak to make and be responsive at that time, because I was like, holy cow, like there's a lot of people viewing this. I want to really grow my audience. And I think that that was a really helpful switch in order to get to the point that this one reel increased my account like 16,000 followers. This was also like not in my content plan for the day. So typically I like to plan content out like a week or two in advance. Sometimes depending on how like on top of it I am, things will be filmed in advance. I'll have my caption done, like everything will be ready to go. And other times I just sort of have like a loose framework of what I plan to do for the day or do for the week, kind of knowing like the different topics I'll talk about. Maybe I'll pick out an audio, but I haven't actually filmed or edited it yet, all of that. With this one, I had like an entirely different reel for the day, but I was scrolling and I saw that audio and I was like, oh, that's really fun. Like my people would resonate with that. I can for sure relate. And so I just decided to post it, right? The audio itself wasn't trending, so it wasn't like the perfect audio. Again, I had like another plan for the day already, but the audio resonated with me. And I think that that's like a really important lesson here. Don't overthink it. Just film it, post it, keep it super simple. And, you might have some pretty incredible results. Another lesson learned from this first reel is to really keep an eye out for audios that describe your clients, right? So in general, I think that it's really helpful to do like the lip syncing ones. I think that they can be really funny, really easy, a really great way to be relatable. And that's why I include them in the Reels membership every single week. But usually they are more like generic words to the audio that I tell people to lip sync. And then the way that we make it really resonate with your people is by the text we put on screen. If you see an audio that's like really specific to your ideal client, please go ahead and save that. Please go ahead and film it, record it, do it on your own. I've had a few that have done pretty well like this, where it's like, sort of like background noise and like really anxious thoughts kind of like playing in the head. And I'll just put like a B-roll on top of it and do like POV, inside the mind of somebody with high functioning anxiety or something. And it really resonates, right? So keep an eye out for that. Something else to sort of experiment with here is experimenting with different captions and calls to action. So, sometimes I write quite long captions and other times I just don't. And I think part of the reason why I kept this caption really short is because I had another plan for the day already. I wasn't planning to film another reel, to edit that reel, to write a whole caption for it. And so I was like, I'm just going to throw this up here. I think it's pretty funny. And I did it with a short caption. But I think that that can be your sort of like invitation to experiment with different styles of captions and see what work, different calls to action, right? So like, telling people to clap their hands was a really, really easy call to action for folks. And I think that did really well. And then lastly is, feeling free to update your caption as things go viral. So as I already shared, I updated that caption to say, follow me, once I saw that it was reaching like hundreds of thousands of people and eventually went on to reach 12 million people. And that was super, super effective in having this reel actually bring in followers to my page. All right, the second reel we're going to talk about is also from my Sit with Kelly page, and this is a reel from October 2024. And it got 2.8 million views, so still a ton of views, but definitely a big drop off from the 12 million in the reel before. And this reel was filmed a little bit differently. It took a tiny bit more time to film and to edit, but it again is still not anything super complicated. So in this reel, I'm dressed in two different outfits and I'm sort of pretending to be two different characters. One is a mom, and so I'm in like a blue button down and blue jeans, and the other is a little girl. And so I have on like a bright purple shirt and a bow in my hair, and I have my hair up in a ponytail. So it wasn't anything, like a full costume change or something like that. But I was able to, sort of look at the different parts and have it be just visually interesting for, the viewer. And in this video, it's four different like 2 or 3 second clips. And the first clip is, me as the mom, and I'm looking in the mirror and the text on screen says, "Mom, my legs look so fat in these jeans." Then it switches to me as the character of the little girl, and I'm sort of like playing with my thighs, jiggling them with my hand. And the text on the screen says, "Little girl, ugh, my thighs are big too." Then the next clip is me as the mom again. And I'm sort of like looking in the mirror. I turn around and I talk to the daughter. And then I turn back and kind of go back to body checking. And the text on the screen says, "Mom, no, honey, you look fine." And then the audio says, "That must be so confusing for a little girl." And for that fourth and final clip, it's just me sitting like Indian style on the floor, dressed as a little girl, kind of looking confused. And I put that text on screen, "That must be so confusing for a little girl." And it was quite simple. It was like a really straightforward concept for me when I heard that audio, "That must be so confusing for a little girl." I knew exactly how I wanted to use it. That's definitely something I've experienced in my own life in terms of like comparison and body image stuff. I hear a ton with clients, and it can be really hard, when you have people in your life who are, critiquing their own body, changing their own body, and also telling you that your body's okay, right? Because obviously you kind of hear one thing and see another. And I think that that's just something that so many women can relate to, especially, those of us who are born in like the 90s. I think that that is just like a really universal experience. And so it did really, really well. So again, it got 2.8 million views, over 168,000 likes. Now, it did not get a ton of comments compared to the last one. So it only got 187 comments, and I'm going to talk about why in a minute. It got 5,000 saves and got like 880 follows. The watch time was really good for this. So it was a 13-second reel, and people watched it for 12 seconds. They watched it almost all the way through. And the caption for this said, "If you relate to this, follow me at Sit with Kelly for more content from a therapist who really, really gets it." So again, really, really, really simple caption, kept it really focused on a call to action of follow me, but I didn't give anybody a reason to comment. And so there were not that many comments, right? Of course, some people engaged and said that they related to this or they shared their story, but there wasn't, a lot of like easy comments for people to make. Something else I think is interesting, just as like a side note here, is during this time when this reel was posted, I actually had access to like creator bonuses on Instagram where Instagram pays you per view. And I got 2.8 million views on this and made $6.16 from this reel. So if you're somebody who's like, I need access to the Instagram bonuses, like I need Instagram to pay me for my content, please do not like hold out and wait for that. It is so not worth it. I make a lot of money on Instagram, mostly with brand deals and then like selling my own services and products. But you're never going to make great money just from like the Instagram creator fund or the TikTok creator fund. So I just thought that was like kind of a funny note as I was going through the analytics for this. Some key takeaways for reel number 2 is like that sometimes it can be really helpful to do a little bit of the more complicated reels. And again, this is not like some huge fancy edit. It wasn't like any, complicated transitions or something that took a lot of time. But I really do think that the reason why this reel did so well is because I bothered to act out the parts, because I put in, a tiny bit of effort and thought into what that should look like, because I changed outfits in between, right? Like I think that that just made it really visually engaging for people. I was also really, really specific, right? So instead of just saying, hearing your mom, talk negatively about her body and saying, your body's fine, that must be so confusing for a little girl. I was really specific in like commenting on her thighs and showing, the little girl critiquing her own thighs, all of that. And I think that that specificity really helps people to relate. The other thing is, kind of focusing on calls to action. So again, that's like not something I did here. And if I could redo this reel, I probably would have some sort of call to action. So that could be, like comment a heart if, you were through this, or, any other woman who grew up in the 90s who had this experience, drop and put like the little hand raising girl emoji. Maybe I would set up a freebie or something of like, 5 things to do on a bad body image day and tell people to comment guide, and I'll send them that freebie, right? I think that there's different things that you can do. And that's not to say like every single post needs to have a call to action, but I do think that this would have, performed a lot better if there was something more specific there. And it already did pretty good. So All right. The third reel is from my Business of Therapy account. And this reel was posted in August 2024. And again, it will be linked in the show notes for you. This is another acting reel. So it did take a little bit longer to film, to edit, to compile, but not that long, like maybe 15, 20 minutes total. It doesn't have to be anything complicated. I kept one outfit on for this entire reel, and it ended up getting 2.5 million views, which is amazing. So this reel consists of like 8 different 2 to 3 second clips, and I will go through each of them with you. So I start off by saying ending your 7th therapy session of the day, and it's just sort of me like waving goodbye to the camera. Then I say questioning if you're even helping your clients, and I'm sort of like looking off at my desk, a little, hurt, questioning kind of vibes. Then the next scene is me falling behind on progress notes, and I'm just sort of like flipping through different post-it notes, again, kind of looking like down on myself for falling behind. The next clip says realizing you forgot to eat lunch, and it's me sitting on my couch eating pretzels out of the bag. The next clip says calling insurance companies to follow up on claims, and it's me sitting on the couch with my laptop on the phone, kind of looking exasperated and annoyed. The next clip says checking your bank account and still not making enough, and it's me scrolling on the laptop, looking frustrated by my lack of income. The next clip is me sitting at my coffee table with a bunch of therapy books with kind of like all different genres and niches, and it says researching how to help your clients because you don't feel like an expert at anything. And then the next clip is me and Tom sitting and eating a meal together. And, I'm kind of just like zoning out, not really looking to engage. And it says feeling too exhausted to make conversation at dinner. And that's it, right? So it was pretty specific, but it was also pretty simple and straightforward. And I think that what really worked well here is like I spoke to really, really, really specific experiences that therapists can relate to, right? So like seeing too many clients in a day, feeling like sort of that imposter syndrome, not stopping to eat lunch, having to deal with insurance, like all of that I think is a pretty universal experience that therapists have had at some point during private practice. And so this reel did really, really well. It got 2.5 million views. It got 33,000 likes, and it got over 2,400 new followers. One thing that I think made a huge, huge, huge difference here is the call to action that I used. So my caption says, "Therapist, there's a better way." And then I go on to say, "Comment training, and I'll send you the link to my free webinar." And then I explain what folks will learn in the webinar. And I have another call to action again, comment training for the link. And so this reel that got 2.5 million views ended up getting 1,500 comments. And that is huge for me, especially with a very clear call to action of like comment training to join my webinar. Because it's quite different than like the first viral reel that I talked about, where my call to action was like clap your hands and kind of dropping like a clapping your hand emoji. That really helped me to grow my following and it helped me to grow engagement, but it didn't lead to any direct results for my business. This had, 1.5 thousand, like 1,500 comments of people like commenting to join my free training, right? Which means that they are then going to join my free training, spend 50 minutes with me, learn about Instagram, learn about marketing. They're going to hear my pitch for the Private Practice Academy bundle. And a good percentage of those people are going to decide to join that program. And even if they don't join then, right, maybe they join in another 3 months from now or 6 months from now or a year from now, right? And so it has really long-term impacts on my income, on my business. And so I think that that is super, super important. Some key takeaways here with this reel and like something to keep in mind is maybe you implement something similar, I think is really being specific with the scenes that you are acting out, right? Like be in your client's head. Know what they are going through, know what they are experiencing, know what feels challenging for them, and put words to that. And people will feel really, really, really seen and understood. I was also like kind of mindful to keep the different scenes different, right? So like I was using different camera angles for them. I was having like a prop in each scene. And I think that that was just really helpful to keep it visually engaging. And again, it didn't take a ton of time, maybe 15, 20 minutes to film this and put it all together. But I think that it did really, really well because it was really visually engaging and interesting to watch. And then lastly is, I don't do this on all my posts, but definitely, I think that when you have like a free resource to give somebody, using a call to action and using the program called Money Chat where people can comment a keyword and then they get a DM and are sent a link is really, really great. Especially, I don't think it's super helpful when you're trying to like fill your therapy caseload. Like I probably wouldn't say like comment therapy and I'll send you the link to book an intro call because people kind of want more privacy with that. But if you are working to grow your email list for another offer, so you have like a free guide or something like that, I think that that can be like a really great way to increase your engagement. All right, now this next reel is kind of similar to the first one that I shared. I posted this on my Sit with Kelly account back in January 2023, so it is an older one for sure. And this, I just sort of filmed it like a vlog. I actually didn't even have my face in it. It was me like sort of going through a morning routine, but kind of like anonymously. It was me like making the bed, opening the window, making my coffee, like that kind of thing. And the audio says, fun fact, if you wake up just 1 hour earlier, you can include up to 60 extra minutes of anxiety into every day. And so it's just sort of like a funny, lighthearted reel. I saw this audio was another thing that was like unplanned. I actually filmed it on a Saturday morning. I remember Tom was sleeping in. And when he finally got up, I was like so giddy, like, watch this reel I made. It's so funny. It's going to do so well. And I really thought that that one was going to go viral, and it did. So it got 1.9 million views, 60,000 likes. I was quite educational in the caption. So I really talked about like feeling anxiety, the cycle, how a morning routine could help. I was, kind of sharing like a few different calls to action. I shared my anxiety course. I told therapists who wanted to grow their Instagram page to follow me. I told therapists who want Reels ideas to join my Reels membership. I told other people to follow me. And so none of those calls to action were like super effective because they were kind of all over the place. But where this reel did really well is it got 29,000 shares and 5,000 saves. And I think that this was really because it was quite like funny. It's something that you could share to the group chat or share to your story. But it didn't bring in that many followers. So even though it got nearly 2 million views, I only got 169 followers from this reel. And so it didn't really do a ton for me or for my business. It was just kind of like a fun adrenaline hit that I had something go super viral. And it was definitely the most viral thing I had by far at the time. And so things that I would sort of do differently here. Show your face when you are making reels, okay? So I know that sometimes it's easy to do like, a scenery or something like that. Or this one, I thought that it was like really aesthetic that I was not showing my face. But people don't really follow reels when they don't connect to the person behind it, right? And so I had an audio that was not my voice, right? Like I wasn't narrating the audio myself. It was a man's voice and I wasn't showing my face. And so people just kind of liked it. They giggled, they shared it maybe to their friends and they moved on, right? So it didn't, again, like really translate into clients, into customers, into followers or anything. It was really just views. That said, I think it is okay to just have fun with your content sometimes. It really did bring me a lot of joy to post this reel, to make this reel. I was still like relatively new to Instagram, like kind of doing the more vloggy style reels was like kind of complicated for me, but I thought it was really fun. And I just did a really good job with it. And then something else I think is like a good takeaway here is that shareable content is always going to do really well in the algorithm, right? So if you can think like, is this something that people would want to send to their group chat, that they would want to DM to their friend, to their partner? Like that is the kind of content that's going to do really well. Instagram really prioritizes shares because it keeps people on the app. It keeps them social, it keeps them engaged and talking to each other. And so any content that is really shareable is going to do really, really well. So I think a good lesson here is like, if you come up with an idea and you're like, oh yeah, that's really shareable, or you see something in the Reels membership that you're like, yeah, I know exactly how I'm going to use this. It's going to take off for sure. Make sure that you're putting your face in it. Make sure that you're putting like a call to action, kind of do those things that are going to give it that extra oomph to really like drive results in your business. Okay, so the last reel number 5, let's talk through it. Okay, so this reel is from February 4th, 2024, and it is a very simple B-roll reel with some text on top. Now, I will say it was a pretty B-roll. I was traveling in Patagonia at the time, and so I'm like sitting on the edge of this river, I'm eating a sandwich and kind of laughing, and the text on top says POV, You're in your 30s, you have a few friends who mean the world to you, and you have a career you love. But you're tired of the high functioning anxiety and pretending like you have it all together, ... till you find my account. And the caption says, PSA, your therapist is a complicated, messy person on their own self-growth journey. No one on this world is completely healed. Your therapist has not arrived. In fact, the best therapists I know are in therapy themselves. We get what it's like to sit on the other side of the chair or the Zoom call. I'm a therapist in therapy and I'm proud of it. I'm still working on getting better at taking my own advice, setting boundaries, creating time for rest, and feeling my uncomfortable feelings. Follow Sit with Kelly for more relatable mental health content. And let's talk through the results of this reel. So it got 1.4 million views. It got 11,000 likes. It only got 27 comments because I didn't really give people something easy to comment on here. 167 shares, so not a ton of shares either. But it did super well in that it brought in 14,000 followers, right? And the watch time, it was only a 4-second reel, so it was quite quick, but it had a 7-second watch time, which meant that the average person not only finished the reel, but almost watched it 2 times all the way through. So this reel, right, it got almost 1.5 million views, but it had lower engagement, right, overall. And it still had excellent follower growth, which is really good for my business. So why? Why did this happen? I think that this happened because I used there was sort of like a hidden call to action here, right? So I said POV, and then I gave like 3 specific things that my people are struggling with. And then I say ... till you find my account. And I think what that till you find my account really does is imply that following my account is going to be the solution to their problem, right? That is going to be what helps them with this. It's going to be what helps them not feel alone. It's going to be where they find the answers. And so even though I didn't say, follow me until the very end of kind of a longer caption, it still got 14,000 followers because the way that I structured the reel to begin with, right? So this is a really good prompt. I can't remember who I first saw this with, but I've seen like other people on Instagram do it. I share this prompt in the Reels membership sometimes. I've recreated it on both of my pages a few times, and it always does well. And the key here is really to be specific with the things that you list. So POV, you, and then you list 2, 3, 4 struggles, and then you say ... till you find my account. So being really specific in what those struggles are is going to be what gives you results here, right? So I say POV, you're in your 30s. So I'm being specific for the age group. You have a few friends who mean the world to you, and you have a career you love, right? So I'm kind of listing off like, what are the strengths? And then I say, but you're tired of the high functioning anxiety and pretending like you have it all together. So I'm really speaking to like, here's who you are as a person, and here are the pains that you're dealing with until you find my account. And it's just such an easy, effective reel to use. Now, some takeaways here are using short videos that loop. So you'll notice inside the Reels membership, oftentimes I'm suggesting for the B-roll videos to just do like 4 seconds, 5 seconds, 6 seconds. And usually it will take people longer than that to actually read the text on screen if you follow the prompt. And that is okay. That's actually intentionally done by design, right? So we want that video to loop so that people watch it more. Because when people finish a video all the way through to completion, that really signals to Instagram that it's highly valuable content and that people like it. And so Instagram shows it to more people. I also use a new current trending sound. That is super helpful as well. Again, I always pick those out in the Reels membership for you. We want to be specific. So know your people, know your audience, be really clear, speak to one person in your content. Niching down is absolutely everything if you're going to make any of these prompts work. And then the POV reels in general have been popping off for a really long time. So I really love to do those prompts. And then we already talked about kind of that till you find my account call to action at the end. If today's episode was useful for you, I know it was a little bit meatier than our typical episodes, but I thought it would be fun to kind of go in and do a deep dive into 5 different pieces of content. And you can see they're all a bit different, but they're all pretty easy to do, right? They're all stuff that you are super capable of doing. And really all that you need in order to make this happen is a clear idea of who you're speaking to, and then good ideas for content, right? And 5 or 10 minutes to film a video and put it together. if you can do that, you can have reels that are bringing in, millions of views, thousands of followers. Not every reel, right? But if you post enough, that is what's going to happen. You are bound to go viral. And I think that that's one reason why I absolutely love the Reels membership so much, because it takes off so much of that burden for you, right? I will plan out Reels for you just like this. I will find you the trending sound. I will figure out, I test and I experiment on both my accounts all the time. I study the algorithm and I see, what do I see other people going viral? What is it that worked about this? I go through their comments. I try and figure it all out for you, right? So you can make it super, super simple to follow this format to say, yes, I can use a trending sound that Kelly picked out. I can lip sync this audio. I will put this text on top following, this prompt that she gave me, and it can just make it super easy for you to create content. So I hope that this was helpful. I hope that you will join me inside the Reels membership if you like any of these ideas and you're like, yeah, my account needs more of this energy. And if not, I hope that you learned something here today and have something new to try, whether that is, a new different kind of call to action in your video. If it's trying to use a shorter video or a new trending sound, if it's a push to really show your face more, or, to use this prompt of POV ... till you find my account. There are lots of different things that you can try to grow your account, to experiment, to increase engagement. And I'm honored to be a part of that process with you. All right, have a wonderful rest of your day, my friends, and I hope to celebrate you soon with some new viral reels. Please feel free to DM them to me. Cheering you on, always.